Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. That's right, this is No Soundbites Allowed. In fact, we're going to be launching a great new program called Conservatives Standing Tall. We'll be talking about that in a moment, but we want to give people a couple seconds here, a few moments, to catch up with us on what exactly is going to be happening here today, what we're going to be talking about. So we want to make sure everyone's going to have a chance to listen in. So we're going to give it a couple more seconds, and then we're going to get right into the show. And 1, 2, 3, here we go, folks, here we go. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me. This is Michael Voss, and as you can tell, we're going to have some guests on the program. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, and I'm over here on, I shifted sides here, because I'm going to be talking with a couple of students who were involved in an incredible event that had happened this weekend. You may have already seen some of it. You may have heard about it. Oops, wrong screen. You may have heard about it already, that there was a near riot at Binghamton University on Thursday. That was the 14th of November. Today is obviously November 17th. And this has been gaining a lot of attention, mostly national attention. And you've seen it, you may have seen it on Daily Wire, you may have seen it from the Young Americans Foundation, but essentially they've been talking about this horrible, shameful, violent attack against students for the mere fact that those students were talking, that they were sharing their thoughts. And that's really a terrifying thought. And there's video of this, which was provided by Young Americans Foundation. And you may see it. Let's see. We got
they're oppressing and genocidal Palestine.
Oh, really? Did you see all the rockets which were just fired? Did you not see any of the rockets?
The rockets are hitting Israel every day, really. Let's keep hitting Israel until they give their land back.
Oh.
Let's keep hitting them. Good for them.
That kind of scared me right there. Did you hear that, folks? It's let's keep hitting Israel until they get their land back. So let's use violence. Let's use violence. Now, there's a lot of aspects to this story, a lot of things that I want to go through, a lot of things that are who we have in studio right now. A gentleman who actually went through this entire process, and that is John Lezak. He is the Vice President of Turning Point USA chapter at Binghamton University. He is the Secretary for the Binghamton College Republicans. Sorry, I always get that part a little thrown off.
It's all right.
And he was there. He actually had to survive the mob attack. It was horrible. And I'm going to be speaking with him, and John, I'm going to come right to you in a second, but I just want to make this very clear, because I've been talking about this for a while. This should not be just me talking about this. This should not be just Daily Wire talking about this. The local media won't touch this. They just aren't covering this story, and they should be covering this story. This is important. This is about the First Amendment. This is about malice. This is about menacing, intimidation. This is about politics, about what it is to be a progressive, what it is to be a libertarian or a conservative or a Republican. And we need to talk about this. By the way, folks, throughout this show, I am going to be looking and I am watching on YouTube for any comments. I'd love to have it on Facebook, but Facebook is blocking us. You can reach us on Twitter. You can reach us on our phone, which is 607-242-1582. And you can leave your comments. You can text us there, or you can call in and we will have you on live. But enough of me talking right now, because I wanted to set the tone a little bit, give people an idea. But let me start with, so John, it was Thursday morning. You went out. What were you guys thinking? What was the thought?
So we, at College Republicans and Turning Point USA, we decided we were going to advertise for our Arthur Laffer event that is coming up on Monday. That is Monday, November 18th at 7:30. We are hosting Arthur Laffer, the famous economist. We decided it was best to advertise for that event. And with that, we got hot chocolate, we got flyers. We decided we were going to hand out both at the same time, and hopefully we're going to get enough people to come to our event. Now, at that same time, Turning Point was also coming. We had our Turning Point representative coming in, who planned on tabling on Thursday as well. So we decided we'd do both at once, kill two birds with one stone, and do both at the same time. Now, Turning Point was advertising for their organization.
Okay.
They were signing people up. They were giving out pins, posters, and they were just getting people interested in the organization.
Okay.
Now, in our planning, we decided the best way to get attention for this would be to wear Make America Great Again hats.
MAGA hats, okay.
Of course. And our TPUSA president, Lacey, had purchased a Donald Trump cardboard cutout. And we figured that was probably just such a good idea. You know, it would get so many people looking at us. It would get us so much attention. It would be a good idea to bring that out with us. We knew it would get some negative attention. We did not think it would get the negative attention that it got.
Okay, before we go further,
Yes.
let me stop right there. So just so people understand this, because not everyone is going to a college or they don't have tabling events.
Yeah.
And I know when I went to college, we didn't have them, at least by that name. So when you said you were going out, you were going to table. What is a tabling event?
Of course, yeah. I realize
That's
not
okay.
everyone knows that, yeah. Tabling is essentially you get your organization out, you get a table, and you do whatever. There's many objectives to tabling. Mostly it's to get people interested. It's to pull people in, to sign people up, or to give away things. In our case, it was to give away hot chocolate and flyers. So our tabling was setting up a table, getting our flyers and hot chocolate on the table, getting a nice sign that would attract people in, and then pulling people over to the table and giving away these things to them.
So it's marketing. It's essentially just
Yes,
marketing.
it is marketing.
It's a way to get people to know about your group.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so that's fine. No one cares about that. I mean, that's normal. Now, on tabling, let me ask you this. Has any organization at Binghamton University ever tabled an event without approval?
Yes.
Okay. And have any of those groups been political, like the Democrats, the progressives on campus, anyone?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a common practice.
Yes.
Basically, you get a table. If I'm understanding it right, and please tell me if I'm not, you get a table, you put it out, you have a flyer, a flag, a cutout poster, whatever it may be, and you say, hey, we exist. We have an idea. Would you like to know about it?
That's what tabling is.
That's okay. So we understand what tabling is.
Yep.
So I've seen people do that everywhere in Binghamton, New York City. People are just on side of the street. Were you blocking the ability of people to walk past you?
Absolutely not. We were right where the stone, there's a little stone wall near the edge. We were just there. That's where we were.
Okay.
We were not anywhere near the middle. We were totally on the side.
Okay, so people had a clear walkway. If they wanted to just walk right past you, they could have done it.
Yeah, we were next to a light pole. If they were going to be walking where the tables were, they would have hit a light pole. You know, we were not in the way in any sense.
Okay, so tabling exists.
Yes.
Organizations of every type table at any time.
Yes.
And you didn't obstruct or cause anyone to be forced to be involved with what you were doing.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Did people just walk past you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Did people walk past you, make comments?
Yes.
Pro, negative?
More negative than pro. Usually when people support us, they come up to us.
Okay.
And then people can make passive-aggressive remarks as they walk by. Those are always the opposition.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a normal kind of event where if you didn't care about it, if you don't care about politics, you just walk right past.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's fair. And that's common.
Yes.
And that's consistent.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So let me take another question, because I've been reading all of the comments out there, especially by Councilman Conrad Taylor, who I will be addressing, and his point participation in this in just a second.
Yeah.
But I've heard a changing narrative coming from the progressives and the college liberals and their supporters that are constantly saying, well, no, you just don't understand. It's about racism. It's about Donald Trump. It's about freedom. It's about fear. It's about intimidation. The story has changed. It's about white supremacy. I keep hearing a different version of why or what you guys were doing. So I want to understand. You said that you're coming out to give away hot chocolate
Yes.
to promote an economist speaking at Binghamton University. You had a cutout of Donald Trump. Okay. Are these things, was in your conversation, I mean, you're white. Did everyone go, hey, we're white, let's go out there and talk about white things, which I don't think an economist, hot chocolate, or a cutout of President Trump are indicative of racism.
No. Yeah, it's crazy how the narrative has changed. And from the beginning, it was, the starting point was they're doing it illegally. They didn't get their permit. This is not a legitimate table. That was the first point.
That was an argument that was made, and I think in some of the video, I've seen an hour and a half of video from different perspectives, unedited, of the event since it happened, starting on Thursday night from several of my sources. And I've been trying to make sure the news media gets this as well. So I've seen literally 40-minute blocks of uninterrupted video. One of the arguments that came up is, well, you're not the college Republicans, but TPUSA is not authorized to be able to.
Yeah, so their argument was that TPUSA is not yet chartered. We're working on it, by the way, but we're not yet chartered, so we're not allowed to table. You know, this is all nonsense. This is just things that they were saying to try to get us off. They were coming up with a whole bunch of legal mumbo jumbo to try to get us to pack up and leave.
Okay, let me stop again. Has any organization that is not chartered ever tabled at Binghamton University?
For sure. This is not the first time.
Okay, and when you say chartered, I assume that means an official club.
Yeah.
Is there something like you need a certain number of people, or what is it? What is that?
Well, yeah, we have our the TPUSA organization. They're currently working on that. But essentially, what charter means is that you are receiving money from the school.
Okay,
right?
so so you're not TPUSA is an organization that doesn't get money from taxpayers through the university to the students.
Not yet. I mean, we're working on getting chartered, which is the official term. But no, we don't receive the money from the school yet.
So they're a free organization.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's free, no taxpayer money involved. It's just students that say, hey, we have a similar point of view.
Yeah, we support this. Yeah, that's it. It's just we support this organization. We're going to work for this organization.
So since you don't get government funding, that's a problem. Because you're not getting government funding via the university, that's a problem for some people.
Michael, don't you know? The government needs to spend on everything.
Okay. So the lack of government intervention is a problem.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, of course.
Because I want to make sure people understand, what are we talking about? What are we really talking about? Because we're talking about, it's not legal. You mean it's not government funded? Not the same thing. Students can say anything if they want to. I mean, that's freedom of speech, right?
Of course.
Because that's what colleges are supposed to be about.
Oh, yeah.
Free exchange of ideas.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. But I cut you off there, so go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure. So the narrative started off, we're doing this illegally. Total nonsense. I think they realized that that's not really a working argument. So they switched it over and they said, they are promoting gun violence. They are putting all of our lives at risk. What? What does that even mean? Half of the tables, one of the tables was promoting an event, an economic event. The other table was promoting an organization. Now, that organization had posters up, about 6 posters, I would say. Maybe 2 of them had something to do with guns, because TPUSA is pro-Second Amendment.
Okay.
That is very clear. So 2 of the posters were pro-gun, and that means that we were all promoting gun violence?
Okay. Now, this is an interesting point, and it's an important one.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people may not be aware. So, and there is a picture, and I'm going to show it right now real quick on the screen, just so people know what I'm talking about here. And I'm going to get to what this article is saying and what this image is. And you can blow it up for yourselves. It's coming from the Binghamton Review, 2019. The leftist mob harasses conservative students at BU. So you can look it up there, and I'll kind of be coming back to this. But in that image, you can see, and I'll explain the image a little bit later, what we see is there is a poster that shows an AR-15 and a couple of other firearms.
Yeah.
But it's it's saying freedom of expression here.
Oh, yeah.
Freedom of the Second Amendment. So I want to be very clear. That's one of the images saying that Americans should have the right to have a Second Amendment. Is that threatening?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of whether we were doing it for guns or not, even if we were doing it for guns, how is that threatening? How is that promoting violence? I hear people saying it's it's so bad that we're doing this because the school shooting just happened, and we're doing this because of the school shooting.
Right. Good point. And
yeah.
So let's backtrack again,
course,
so people know. Again, we want full context here, so everyone understands what are we really talking about. So in full context, you guys went out at what time?
We were gathering materials at 10. The actual tabling began around 10:45 to 11.
Okay, let's call it 11 o'clock.
Sure.
And in California is 3 hours behind us.
Yes.
So at 11 o'clock, it's 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, when you walked out, did you know there was a shooting?
No.
That there was a shooting event where a very troubled 15-year-old decided to commit suicide and kill others.
Yeah.
Did you know about that?
Nobody knew about it.
Okay. So there was no sudden plan. Hey, there was a shooting. Let's take advantage of it.
Oh yeah, this is such a good idea. Why don't we? Yeah. No, it's a ridiculous notion that we planned this in any way.
Okay.
It's almost conspiratorial.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and it's not unreasonable. I think most people didn't hear about the story. It didn't get national until roughly 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Mm-hmm. So that's about 2 hours after the event started or the incident started in California, 2 hours after you started your tabling. So did you guys get a notice about there was a shooting?
So I left. I had to go do a meeting in the middle of this tabling. So around like 11:30 to 12, I went to my meeting. Somewhere in that meeting, I got a notification on my phone.
Okay.
That's when I found out.
Okay. So well into the event.
Yeah, well into it.
Okay.
Nothing we could do about it.
Right. Life happens.
Yes.
No one knows. No one can plan. Oh, today will be a school shooting. Like that.
Yeah. No.
You can say, hey, today there's going to be a shooting in Chicago. That you can plan for.
Oh, yeah.
Because I guarantee you this weekend, 30 people got shot in Chicago. Because
nobody talks about it, by the way.
No. Because every weekend, 30 people get shot in Chicago and Baltimore and in Detroit. But anyway, that side point. So you're having that. And in the image I see, which it looks like it was at the beginning of your tabling, that image I just showed, and I'll show it again. The picture shows that there's 1, 2, 3... 4. There's 4 of you there. Or
yes.
Is there 5?
So there.
I know there's a picture of Donald Trump there, but there's about 4, maybe 5 people.
So
I know
during that picture, there was 4. It floated around because there was 3 of us in the beginning. Then there was 4. Then there was 3 again and 4 again, and it rotated around the 3 to 5 number.
Okay, and so it looks like this was somewhere around 1 o'clock, and 1 o'clock roughly. Between 1 and 2, according to the picture and the time frame that it's in, it looks like there was no crowd.
No.
Students weren't coming around to say, oh, we're going to complain.
No, not at that moment.
So you had been there for over 2 hours. No one cared.
Yeah, I mean, we got a little bit of engagement. There were people that came over to debate or call us racists, things like that. People came over in support. But there wasn't a big showing like those other videos.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And that's what I want to be clear what I mean.
Yeah.
There wasn't a mob growing.
No.
There wasn't a crowd growing saying, oh, my God, I have fear. This is an expression of hate. This is something I can't live with. This is somehow interfering with my ability to live my life that you had that small table.
Not at that moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somewhere after... between 1:47 to 18 p.m. that afternoon, suddenly a crowd starts showing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, It started with only a handful of people. They came over and made it very clear that they were not leaving. This was when we had a crowd form, and they spent about 10 minutes talking to me about school policy, about how I'm not allowed to be here. I wasn't allowed to interrupt them, by the way. This was a 10-minute speech that they were making about, and this code says this and that and this and that. And then at the end of it, they go, okay, so now you have to leave. And I go, no. If you let me make my point, I'm not leaving. The First Amendment, guarantees my right to stay here, and I don't think school policy will go over the First Amendment or the Constitution in any way. Mm-hmm. And I made that point very clear. I believe they went through the whole argument again about school policy, and then I said, nope, not leaving. And I think that's when they realized that this whole argument was a waste of time, and they started resorting to other means.
Okay. Now, everything we've been talking about so far, I want people to understand that this has been, everything you're mentioning seems to be exactly what was said by the Binghamton Review. The reporters, a school newspaper, the Binghamton Review, in their article, Leftist Mob Harasses Conservative Students at BU, as I show on the screen right now, they go into this story. And so far, everything you're mentioning is matching up. That you had gone out there, time frame, and that no one was really opposed to it, no one was worried about it, until, in particular, the one woman who was pictured here right now, and she was very public. She knew she was being recorded on cell phones and videos. So she was very vocal, very angry, very agitated, and one of the provocateurs in trying to incite a riot, it would seem.
Definitely one of the main characters in this whole saga, I would say.
Screaming. And at the same time, we see that there was a comment coming from agents or individuals. They appear to be leftist, progressive, liberals at Binghamton University, decided that, well, because there was Trump supporters, and I'll actually read the quote of the image as provided by the Binghamton Review. On the left, it says, today on the spine, Trump supporters are actively advocating for the Trump administration and gun violence. Again, an image in support of the Second Amendment doesn't mean gun violence, but this is what they're saying.
Yes.
They go on to say, join us at 2 as we disrupt this space that Binghamton has allowed students to create and protest the racism, homophobia, and xenophobia that has erupted from the Trump and his supporters. Okay, before I go further. So they've already detailed that at 2 o'clock, an event that's going on that is not drawing a crowd, that does not have opposition by students or the university, that they were going to create an opposition, that they were going to create an incident, that due to their xenophobia of someone having an idea that was separate of their own, that they were going to go out there and they were going to incite an incident.
Yep.
That's what that text says. And they were gathering a mob to be able to do that.
Yes.
To be aggressors and to attack you, to try to intimidate you. And I don't say that slightly because in the picture right next to it, which appeared on The Culture, a community, Binghamton student community group group text, we see that there's going to be some language here. An individual whose identity was not revealed said, I heard there's only 3 of the supporters there. Response, yeah, there's not that many, but fuck him up anyways. 13 people loved that idea.
Yes.
To be violent, to aggress against you because you have a different idea. They wanted to be violent. The next thing, and that's where we have the image. They then go on to say, pick your gun. Pick your gun is what was on the poster. Okay, out of context, but that's what it says. On the day a shooting occurred, that's literally disgusting. Fine, that's out of context, but maybe that's what they believe. But they go on to say at 2:18, 18 minutes after the event started, their mob was growing. They say, today on the spine, Trump supporters are actively advocating for the Trump administration and gun violence. Sounds kind of consistent. Join us at 2 as we disrupt this disgusting space. And they go on and say exactly the same thing again. So this is a repeated idea. That doesn't sound like just someone occasionally or coincidence. This was not accidental.
No.
This was a plan.
Oh, this is totally organized. This is a top-down operation to disrupt our free speech.
So they wanted to intimidate you with a crowd
Oh, yeah.
that they organized to try and silence you and to remove you because they don't like President Trump. They don't like firearms, the Second Amendment. And in their mind, anyone who doesn't agree with them must be a racist, a homophobe, or a xenophobe.
Yeah.
Which actually sounds like, and considering their claims of white supremacy, they seem to be the racists and the xenophobes. That seems to be interesting. So, 2 o'clock, you get this crowd that's coming around you. What happens?
Yeah, so around 2 o'clock, their numbers just start doubling, right? It starts with about, 8 of them, and then about 20 of them, and then, before you know it, there are 50 people yelling at you, then there's 100 people yelling at you. And then, I don't know when the 200 number came out, but that was definitely the amount of people that were surrounding us. It got so out of hand so quickly. And I remember when there was 8 people there, and then it was like there was a time skip to when there was 200 people there. It happened in such a short span of time. And you could see from the text, this had to be organized. And you see the language. This was not meant to be this was not meant to be a debate. This was not a sharing of ideas. This was not looking for middle ground. F them up. That clearly shows this is meant to be a shutdown. This is meant to be brown shirt activity. This is fascist in nature. This is totalitarian in nature. This is not a sharing of ideas by any standard.
Yeah, not at all.
No.
And I find this to be very troubling. Now, there are some other images I want to share with people so that they can see this. One of them comes from a city councilman, Binghamton City Councilman Conrad Taylor, who happens to also be he's a student at Binghamton University, and he was an elected official. And on his official elected city council Twitter page, he has some very interesting things. On October, and I want to refer to this, and you can go see this yourself if you wish, on Conrad Taylor's page. Conrad Taylor says, on November 7th, there is a cost to turning people away from the government. It weakens our democracy, it hurts our community, it depletes us of hope. Government should be a place where people come together. Let's rebuild the trust in our communities, not break them apart. That's what he had to say on November 7th. And then on November 14th, Conrad Taylor is, as is pictured on the screen, is saying college Republicans and Turning Point USA tabled without approval, which is not a factor, at Binghamton University today in support of guns, right after a school shooting with a real Donald Trump cutout. Young people spoke up and told them where to shove it. This is his statement. Now, if you see, again, the picture, that isn't in favor of mass shootings.
No.
That's in favor of the Second Amendment.
Yes.
If you look at the students here, which is well after 2 o'clock, based on video and the timeline of the text that we've already seen, so it seems that Councilman Conrad Taylor is very much in support of silencing people that he does not agree with.
Yeah, seems like it.
His statement is that because someone supports gun rights, that this is something that's wrong.
Yeah.
That the fact that people, he says they spoke up, this was menacing. By definition, the mob activity falls under New York State laws of menacing, intimidation. There were threats of violence according to the video that captures individuals threatening you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Both physically and also economically, and being able to have a chartered club and being able to express your views. This was a denial of the First Amendment. And we have a sitting city councilman Conrad Taylor, who is making these comments. And by the way, just so people can really understand how bad that is, this is the Facebook page for Councilman Conrad Taylor in Binghamton, New York. And Mr. Taylor's page has absolutely nothing about the event. He is more than happy to go to Twitter to talk about his views about silencing people. He is more than happy to go on and promote the silencing of the First Amendment, to deny people their right to free speech, which would affect their ability to be involved in government, which he seems to think is okay, I guess, for some people. But he isn't willing to share his same information to his constituents, that he believes that they should be able to shut them down. Even though both are his official page, he has no transparency. And I think that's important to point out.
Yeah.
And I have called on Conrad Taylor to speak about this, to explain why he did this. And I also want to bring this up because Councilman Taylor, and I'm going to show everyone a video right now so you can see this. One of the videos, as supplied by the Binghamton University College Republicans, video of the event.
Everybody has a voice in this country. Everybody has a fucking voice in this country. Black people have
Let me stop that. Did you hear? Everybody has a voice in this country, black and white, except conservatives, because they're trying to shut down your voice.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting to note. You can't speak, but people in the country have the right to speak out. Okay, let's go on.
Shut up and get out.
No.
Shut up and get out.
How about not?
There's free speech for you. Shut up and get out. There's free speech. There's a discourse. What an intelligent argument that's being made on the video live. What's happening there? What's happening in that scene right there? Do you see that?
Huh. Interesting. It's a very cohesive, well said point on their end. Very good argument. They were packing up our table. They kept saying, pack it up, pack it up, pack it up. We weren't doing it, so they decided to take everything off our tables, flip the tables, and if you press the play button, you could see not very effectively pack up the tables. They were folding them up.
So they took your property against your will, and were forcibly removing your property.
Kicking it shut. Yes.
Destroying your property, because that table later gets destroyed, as video shows.
I do not know where the table is.
I do see other video. I've seen an hour and a half where I do see later the video shows that the table has been destroyed. I know the owner of the video of the table has reported and identified that it has been broken.
Yes.
So
Yes, yes.
vandalism.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what Conrad Taylor and many other supporters, this is what they believe in. Destruction of property. Okay, let's go back to the video. Let me see. This crowd is growing, as people can see. But it's still not 200. Get out.
Love Trump, pay. Love Trump, pay.
Okay, so there's a lot of cursing here. I don't want to get into the cursing a whole lot. But what we're seeing is that's not a crowd of 200. We're seeing them say that you have to shut up, you have to pack up. They're forcibly taking your items and getting rid of them. They've destroyed property. Yeah. How are you feeling at that moment?
I mean, the thing is, I was concerned for, the safety of the people I was with. I was concerned for our materials. We had a whole box that YAF gave us. I do not know where that box is. I know that they took it. It was all taken. All of our property was stolen. It was damaged. At that point, I was concerned. However, I was relieved to know that all of this was being recorded, right? Because we had Lacey, we had Taylor there. They were both recording all of this. So I was pleased to know that all of this was being seen, that people were seeing the barbaric nature of what these people were doing. Free speech to them is just destroying our things. they said, "Oh, this is my right to free speech," as they break our tables, as they tell us to shut up and go away. That is not when we say free speech, we mean debating ideas, we mean sharing our thoughts, you sharing your thoughts, and us finding a common middle ground. We do not mean you screaming at our face so we can't talk, packing our things up, breaking them and stealing them. That's not free speech to us. That's free speech to them, apparently.
Well, no, that's vandalism. That's malice. That's menacing. That's intimidation. That's stealing. That's a lot of things, but it has nothing to do with free speech. And no one's freedom, no one's ability to pursue life, liberty, and happiness is allowed to impose on you. The moment it starts taking, when I physically force you to do something or physically stop you from doing something, I'm no longer talking about freedom. Mm-hmm. That's no longer freedom. So we got to make sure that's clear. Obviously, these college students haven't been informed of the Constitution or law in general.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that because I remember a specific conversation. It's not in the YAF video, but I think it might be on camera, on video, where we say, this is our First Amendment right, this is all in the Constitution, this is the law of the land. And they specifically said, F the Constitution doesn't matter, the Constitution was written by racists. Wow. So, in fact, this has nothing to do with freedom of speech to them, because freedom of speech that's off the table. That was made by racists. Mm-hmm. Freedom of speech was thought up by racists. So we can't practice that because racists practice that. That is the law of racism. That is not the law of the modern America that they want to build.
Okay, that's not the socialist ideology.
No, not at all.
Well, I've seen the socialist ideology when I lived in Moscow,
of course,
and Tbilisi and Riga, and I tell you what, that's not freedom. That's authoritarian, iron fist rule. But let me go to another video. And again, folks, if you want to see this for yourself, you can. This is at the the Binghamton University College Republicans page. You can go there yourself and see the video that I am providing here for you. And you can see it in its fullness.
Does everyone like the First Amendment here?
Oh, where was it? Just going to show it again. There. I'm stopping the video right there for a second. As the students are more than happy to scream about no justice, no peace, when they're talking about no justice, no peace, for who? There's no peace for who? Because what is their justice? They're talking about social justice, which means if you have to qualify it, it's not what you're talking about. But that being said, they're there, they're screaming at you. We see the crowd is 50 some odd students big. And who's in that crowd at that moment? Well, I'll go back to the video. I just froze it. That's Conrad Taylor. That is Councilman Conrad Taylor, who came to the event. Now, was he called to the event because of the Group Me response asking for a mob to come and intimidate a bunch of conservatives? I don't know. But I do know that Binghamton City Councilman Conrad Taylor is at that event supporting a mob that's trying to intimidate you, that's menacing you, harassing you, and destroying property. Let me ask you, now that I don't know if you noticed that he was there before.
No, I didn't know that.
How do you feel about that?
I feel like I shouldn't even be surprised. I shouldn't even be surprised
that a sitting member of a sitting elected official would join a mob that would harass, menace, intimidate, and silence the First Amendment?
I mean, this is something that obviously, if you go back 10 or 20 years, this is mind-blowing. No one would be able to conceive something like this. But in the modern day, honestly, yeah, I can see that happening.
Actually, you don't have to go back that far. If people may remember, because I do, and the Binghamton Review did, there was an article from the Binghamton Review 3 years ago about the Stop White People 2K16, which is part of the residential assistant training at Binghamton University. And that was August 21st of 2016. People can look up the article if they wish. But that article was very, very clear in that it was saying that white people have a problem, that having a good argument, which means a non-social justice argument, well, that has to be shut down.
Yeah.
And those freshmen are now the juniors, the seniors at Binghamton University. And we would have to ask, is that why we have a mob today who's saying no justice, no peace? Because no justice, no peace also means no voice, no freedom.
Oh, yeah.
No freedom of expression. Yeah. And a sitting councilman, a sitting elected official is there supporting that idea. And I know he's supporting it because, again, we can go back to Councilman Taylor had a wonderful tweet about this in support of it. On that moving spectrum of, gee, what is this about? Is it about gun control? Because I didn't hear anyone say anything about gun control. In fact, as I watched the video over and over again, and I've watched every video that's come out about this, you know what I don't hear? Gun control. No one's talking about gun control.
No, no one.
Not one person mentioned in the mob that was there, in every one of their chants, no one has mentioned anything about the shooting in California. No one has mentioned anything about the Second Amendment. No one has mentioned anything about gun control or gun rights.
Yeah, no one said it to us, and we didn't say it back. That was not the narrative during the time. That is a narrative that was formulated and well-crafted afterwards to delegitimize what we were doing. We were advertising for an economic event. We were advertising for Arthur Laffer, the famous economist, coming to campus. That is the bottom line. That's what we were doing.
And that makes you a racist. That makes you
yeah. That means I'm a racist. Yeah.
Okay. Because obviously social justice. Okay.
We all know economics are racist.
Yeah. Well, and they went into, and the whole racism issue is something else, because there is yet another group that has joined into the conversation. Not Daily Wire, not Ben Shapiro, not Mark Levin, who are national figures who are now aware of this issue and have been talking about it. Mm-hmm. I believe other national news media like Breitbart and others may be shortly talking about this.
They've all been picking it up, yes.
The local news media haven't said anything except me, but there is another organization that got involved in this, and that happens to be Divest Binghamton.
Yes.
Are you familiar with them?
Oh, I am.
Okay. Divest Binghamton says, 23 hours ago, the Binghamton University Police Department has been advancing and protecting white supremacy for decades. The police are actively protecting these supremacists, that would be you, I assume.
Yes, that's me.
From those they seek, I need to put my glasses back on, to further oppress, and are only adding to the further racial disparity in Broome County. Students of color are not safe here. Posted in solidarity with the TPUSA counter-protesters. Counter-protest. Were you guys having a protest?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't recall having a protest. Actually, I do recall advertising our event, as I previously stated, but I don't recall protesting.
Okay, so there was no protest.
No.
Okay, TPUSA, were they protesting?
No.
Okay.
No, they were just standing there. They were advertising for the organization.
Tabling.
Oh, yeah. That's all.
Oh, screen just jumped for a second. So the moving landscape has now gone to, so it went from, this is about guns, which no one's spoken about.
Nope.
This has been about social justice, which no one's talked about.
Nope.
This is about freedom of speech, which you were being denied.
Mm-hmm.
And now a new group of progressives are trying to say, well, it's about racism and
white supremacy.
And white supremacy.
Oh, right. Of course.
Okay. So that's interesting. But I want to show the video that they put out there to try and justify their points of view. And I don't care about that part. I want to go straight to. Now, I know I'm skipping. You can go and look at this if you want. I'm not promoting their ideas. What I am going to do is I want to hear what they want to talk about here. And it starts at second 39. They don't feel safe. They don't feel. This is what the protesters are saying. They don't feel safe. And that's what the police told him. If you don't feel safe, leave. Now, I want to remind people, look at the image that was put out by the Binghamton Review. There were 3 people there, acknowledged by the mob and the protesters. 3 supporters were there.
They don't feel safe.
200 plus students, including a sitting city councilman, did not feel safe because 3 people were standing alone and they knew it.
Yep.
And they had to get a mob of 200 plus people to come out and to interfere with you guys. And somehow that mob was afraid of just you 3.
Yep, 200 plus people that were violent, they were angry, were threatened by 3 people wearing red hats and holding a big piece of cardboard. That's what they were threatened by.
See, and people
Yes.
wonder why they are referred to as these liberals, the progressives, people like Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, Plot. Why are they considered snowflakes? Because
Interesting.
when 3 people can stand together with a sign and these snowflakes are going to melt away and lose their minds, and they feel like they have been hurt, like this is some kind of physical offense against them. Yeah, I have to believe that they are snowflakes, that you can't handle that.
Yeah, and building off of that, afterwards, the next day on the 15th, on Friday, they had an event in one of the big meeting rooms. It was a safe space event. If you felt hurt or threatened by any of the events that went down on Thursday, come by and voice your opinions. This was obviously meant for the
What?
for the 200 people. Yes, to have
If they felt threatened or hurt,
Yep.
200 people aggressing against somewhere between 3 to 5 of you guys.
Yep.
If you witnessed a mob attacking a couple of individuals and you were suddenly microaggressed by this,
Yep.
and not for the 3 people, but for the 200 people
Yeah.
who are doing it, then you had a therapy session.
Yeah, if you were threatened by the fact that you were threatening someone else, if that threatened you, then come by, voice your opinions, let your emotions be heard. That was the point of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the response, and that was from the university.
That was not from the university. That was one of the buildings had a huge open event for anyone to come by and voice their concerns.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's your safe space to protect the mob. They're protecting
The mob after they harassed us.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's kind of special. Well,
Yeah, it
there's
is.
something else that's special. And you may have seen this when I was showing the live YouTube pages, because everything I'm showing is as live as I can make it right now. On the live YouTube pages, you may have noticed that I reached out to the Dean of Students of Binghamton University, and I sent this letter to them, or this request, on November 14th at 6:36 p.m. after watching video of this event. And I said, quote, I am requesting an on-the-record response about the riot at Binghamton University on November 14th, 2019. Information at this time suggests that 4 to 8 students were being mobbed by potentially 100 or more students for peaceably tabling and giving away hot chocolate. What are the regulations of Binghamton University on this? Will the perpetrators face any disciplinary action? All responses will be covered verbatim, and interviews with Binghamton administration are welcomed. So I just want to be very clear. I reached out to Binghamton University to get an answer. Were you aware of that?
Of you doing that?
Yeah.
I was not.
Okay. Do you know of Binghamton University making an official statement about this yet?
I don't believe they made an official statement. I know that
Yes, they did.
They did. I know that they responded to something. I think we're probably talking about the same thing then.
No, I'm talking about the official statement is their response to me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, a lot of people don't realize this. And again, I'm the only news media covering this. This is the official statement from Binghamton University about 200 students aggressing against 3 students for handing out chocolate and standing on the side of a walkway. This is what Binghamton University had to say verbatim. And it is, The Binghamton University Dean of Students, Friday, November 15th, 2019 at 9:27 a.m. There was a contentious gathering on campus this afternoon that required the intervention of university police. Police were dispatched to the area because there were reports that conversations were getting loud, aggressive, and possibly volatile. Police response was appropriate and important to make sure that every student involved in this matter was safe and remained safe. The incident ended and the crowd was able to be dispersed without anyone getting injured. Background: this morning, a handful of students identified as college Republicans set up a table without student administration permission with a pro-gun sign and literature. This activity was countered by students opposed to guns and gun violence. The clash led to some harsh words, and the table and signs and materials were torn down and ripped up. This incident, from all perspectives, was unfortunate. As a university, we encourage everyone to consider the perspectives of others and the damaging impact words and images can have, even if they are protected as free speech under the First Amendment. As an institution of higher education, freedom of speech is fundamental to our core mission. Academic inquiry and the exchange of ideas rest on the principle that all have a right to express their beliefs. We strongly condemn any acts that impede the expression of one's belief, but also encourage everyone on this campus to enter into meaningful interactions with respectful dialogue and actions. Now, this is the statement. So, first of all, they're blaming you.
Yes.
For 200 students who were organized to set upon you and were doing so specifically because, not because of guns, according to the text, according to their own words and video, it had nothing to do with guns, had nothing to do with gun rights or the Second Amendment. They expressly came out there because you're Trump supporters and they don't agree with your conservative Republican views.
Yes.
That's what the video says. That's what the text says.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
That's very clear. So the university automatically has no idea what they're talking about. The university seems perfectly okay with someone committing vandalism and stealing property.
That's my favorite part. I love how they say, words and what was their phrasing? Words can be damaging, right?
They said everyone to consider the perspective of others as the damaging impact words and images can have.
Oh, damaging impact. You know what else is damaging? Damaging property is damaging.
Yes.
They don't bring that up, though.
No, they skip past that.
Yeah, no, they kind of breeze past that whole point. That's also kind of damaging when you damage people's property, one would think.
Yes, one would think. And
One would think.
again, I'm going back to the video for a second. Let's look at this crowd. This is the edit by Binghamton guy.
You have yet to ask us how we felt the whole time, but you care about him. You have yet to ask any of us if we felt threatened. He had pictures of many guns, AR rifles and stuff, and there's a whole gun.
Okay, let's review this again. Many guns. There was a poster of 3.
Yes.
Many guns.
That's a lot.
Poster
That's a big
of
number.
3.
Big
Okay,
numbers.
let's keep going.
Master right now happening in California, and I personally felt threatened. Told my life being in danger.
Her life is in danger because someone had a poster of 3 guns. And I should clarify, this is the only moment I'm aware of where someone's talking about guns. This one specific video. Go on.
So I'm curious why you have yet to remove her from here. So why can't she stand there? Back up. Relax, bro. Relax. She can stand if she wants to. Relax. You're doing too much.
Now, I love it. After a black female student attempted to dispose of offensive materials. This is the video that's being put out by Divest Binghamton. Okay, let's get very clear. Who cares about the color of the skin of the person? Because that's a racist implication.
Yep.
Whether it's a woman who's black, white, Asian, polka dot, doesn't really matter. A woman, a female student, attempted to dispose of, now this is key, she attempted to dispose of property that is not hers.
Yeah.
To dispose of property, what does dispose mean? Destroy, steal, vandalize? That's illegal. That is a crime.
Yeah, is it offensive materials that they're disposing, or is it other people's materials that they're disposing?
Well, it doesn't
I think
matter.
that's the more important part.
Even if it's offensive,
Yeah.
which would raise the question of offensive to who?
Oh, right.
Who is it offensive to? To this one female? To divest Binghamton? To progressives? To democratic socialists? To conservatives, Republicans? Who is being offended by this? Because as the tweets show, no one was being offended because the progressives, the liberals at Binghamton University took pictures of you not offending anyone and no one being worried about it.
Yep.
So who was being offended? So socialists and liberals and progressives were being offended
Yeah.
that someone had an idea.
And that gives them the right to dispose of these ideas. Like this
And
tablet
vandalism.
that I have in front of me, Michael, is quite frankly offensive to me. And I think I'm going to break it. It's the same mentality.
It is exactly the same mentality.
Yes.
This is insulting to me. And this is why I know this may be seeming like a long video to a lot of people. Maybe people tune in and out, but here's the thing. This is important.
Mm-hmm.
This is the future. These are the future leaders.
Oh, yeah.
This is people like none other than Conrad Taylor.
Yep.
These are the people who are going to replace Conrad Taylor at the city government, who are going to try and get elected to either a mayor or the assembly or to state senate or to Congress, which several of those are ideas that I know that Councilman Conrad Taylor wants to move on and move into a higher seat. Imagine Conrad Taylor, who is supporting a progressive ideology. He's supporting mob rule. He's supporting violence. He's supporting harassment. He's supporting stealing and menacing. This is what he supports, as long as it's on his side. Mm-hmm. Imagine if he were actually mayor or in the New York State Assembly or the New York State Senate or Congress. Imagine what is he going to allow people to do to other citizens? What is he going to allow college students to do to the residents of the southern tier of New York? Because he thinks it's okay, because he likes it.
Oh, as long as he likes it, as long as it fits his agenda, I don't think it really matters what people do. This is violating the First Amendment. These people want to destroy our freedom of speech. That is the First Amendment. That is the first thing that the founders thought was important enough to include in the Bill of Rights, the rights that the government cannot take away from citizens. They want to eliminate that. So I really don't think there's any limit to what they will do to get this done.
This is terrifying to me, folks. This is terrifying. Hopefully it's terrifying to you as well, that we're seeing this. And the phone number, again, you can call in right now, and I ask Conrad Taylor, Councilman Conrad Taylor, please call in to 607-242-1582. You can't say that it's not clear. I sound like an automated system. I do it on purpose. 607-242-1582. You know my number. You also know my private number, Conrad. Please, I know him as a politician. I cover politics for many years. Conrad, you know where I live. You've been to my house. You know my phone number. Give me a call. If you don't want to do it publicly and address this because you don't want to tell your constituents that you believe in supporting mob rule and breaking the law, if you don't want to tell them directly, you can send it to me indirectly and we can have this conversation and I'll report on it. But I want to have your words directly. I would love to hear from Plot, Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow. I would love to hear from the Democratic Party. I would love to hear from Assemblywoman Donna Lepardo, from County Executive Jason Garnar, who are Democrats. And this is their party. These are their future members, if not current members. What do they believe about this kind of violation? I would love to hear that. Except I'm not, because the local news media up to this moment have refused to cover this, even though I have tried to push this and let them address it. Because I have several contacts in the local news media, and I know there's a couple of reporters who are interested in it, but their bosses so far have refused, which should tell people what's really being told to them in the media. But I'm not going to go there. We need more. We need to know and understand more of what's going on. This is affecting us all. It doesn't stop here, though, folks. This is how big this is. This is bigger than just Binghamton. It is far, far bigger than just this site. Oh, yeah. And this is why we're having this conversation. Because I want to get into, there's also, did you know that Assemblyman Doug Smith, do you know who he is?
No.
Okay. Assemblyman Doug Smith is an assemblyman in New York down in Long Island. And he is the head of the Education Committee for New York State. And he wrote a letter. He learned about this. Did you know that he even knew about this?
Oh, I did see this.
You did see
Yes.
it? Okay. So the assemblyman wrote a letter to the chancellor of the State University of New York and asking, what's going on in Binghamton? How can this be allowed? He wrote the letter to Harvey Stenger as well. Actually, it was to Harvey Stenger and CC to Dr. Christina Johnson, State University of New York Chancellor. And Harvey Stenger is the president of Binghamton University. We've already seen what Binghamton University had to say about this. But the assemblyman says, how can we allow this to happen? How can we allow a mob to rule over the public? And by the way, if you're wondering, you can go to Assemblyman Doug Smith's Facebook page. You can see the letter there, and you can read it in its entirety. And his response, and what he got as a response, which was that it's okay because the mob was responding to 3 students.
Of course.
On something the mob didn't like. So it was okay.
Yeah, of course. It's okay as long as it fits one side. Because, you brought this up. Why are you the only one covering this? Imagine if it was the other way around. Imagine if there were 200 conservatives that surrounded 3 progressives and were shouting the same exact things that were shouted at us.
Calling them racist, saying that they were evil, that their policies were going to destroy America.
Past that, saying I'm going to spit on you.
Oh yeah.
Saying I'm going to F you up, breaking the table. It's unfathomable the amount of coverage that this would get. People in China would be hearing about this.
Imagine if a conservative sent out a tweet that said, let's get a group of people together to F up a bunch of progressives. That would be huge news across the media. That would be national if that was the case. Except this is a bunch of progressives who are sending out this message to other progressives to put a mob together to try and attack a bunch of conservatives. And that's okay, apparently. By the way, one of the conservatives, and I should have mentioned this earlier, is Lacey Kestiger, who is the president of TPS Turning Point USA at Binghamton University. She's been on the show before. She has been the target of cyberbullying. She has been the target of intimidation tactics. She was at this event with you. Lacey happens to be about 5 foot tall.
Yeah.
She's a tiny woman. Now, that doesn't mean she's weak. She's a tiny woman. She's just not tall. She's not big. And 200 men and women were assaulting this female college student. If I didn't mention she was a Republican, a conservative, would anyone be happy to hear, 200 men and women were trying to attack a 5 foot tall woman?
Oh, yeah. It sounds awful when you put it that way, but then you say the magic word, Republican, conservative, and the whole narrative switches. Oh.
Why?
She's a racist. Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And I love how people were assigning racist. Nothing in this has anything to do with racism, but they assigned you as Trump supporters. They don't know how you voted.
No.
Except for you had a sign.
I did have the sign.
Okay. So fair enough on you, but no one else who knows. They assume that you want to encourage mass shootings, except the only one I know that's encouraging mass shootings happens to be the city of Chicago. Mm-hmm. Because they have plenty of them.
Oh, yeah.
So, and they're not doing anything to stop it, or at least everything they are doing has no impact because they're not targeting criminals. Fine. this is so many ramifications, and this is why I'm going through so many aspects of this. And it's sad that this is not national news. Yes, I've been trying to make it national. I've been trying to talk about it. It needs to get out there because I don't believe that Binghamton University is the only college that is having this situation happen. I think this is common. I think that progressives think their feelings, as we've heard several times from several of these, and if people look at the video as I have over an hour and a half or lived it like you did, you'll hear their feelings are more important than the law. Their feelings are more important than anything.
Oh, they made that very clear, too. They made the specific point. We don't think about feelings. Feelings are everything. Feelings are everything. That's what they were saying. That's the point that they were making.
Their feelings.
Oh, but it's their feelings.
No one else's feelings matter.
We weren't allowed to feel threatened. They were the ones that were supposed to feel threatened after this.
Yeah, they were feeling threatened, and they needed to have therapy because the snowflakes were intimidated by 3 people while they were in a crowd of 200.
I mean, could you imagine the response that I would have gotten if I showed up to that?
Oh, it would have been.
Could you imagine?
It would have been a riot. Again.
I was one of 3 people that were the only ones that could legitimately feel that way, that could legitimately feel threatened. I was the one with 200 people screaming at me.
Did they offer you the opportunity to go to this?
I mean, I saw it through a couple other people. It was open to the public, so technically I would have been able to go. But the reception that I would have received had I walked into that room would have been so negative. It would have been the same.
So they intimidated you. So this was so bad that they intimidated you from being able to go to public events.
I would have gotten the same reception there as I had during the event itself.
That's a terror tactic.
Oh, yeah.
That is literally a terror tactic. That is something that groups like ISIS do. And let's be honest, folks, that is what terror tactics are. To prevent people from living their lives, from being able to express themselves, from being able to go places. These are tactics that terrorists use. These are tactics that authoritarian and totalitarian governments do. We see this in, North Korea, China. China does it. I mean, how is this different than what we see with the Hong Kong protesters?
Oh, I mean, it's really not. But this really is just the progressives. They're practicing because they know once they get into power, if they do, that it's just going to be this, but on a much larger scale. It's going to be this, but instead of 200 protesters, it's going to be police officers. It's going to be, I'm sure it'll be people in masks still. I think they find that fun. I'm sure they'll still do that kind of terror tactic, but they are practicing for, in the case that they get power, they can do this on a much larger scale. They love this kind of stuff. They love shutting down people. They love shutting down people that they don't agree with. It's all they do. These people will be totalitarian if they get into power.
By the way, folks, I know there's people who are watching this, and a lot of people are watching it, and we thank you. I'm very pleased that people are here. And I want you guys to say everything that you're thinking. And we're trying to follow this as much as we can. We're looking for the comments that you may have out there about this. You are more than welcome to call in. Again, that number is 607-242-1582. You can reach us on text at that line. You can leave us a text or a message on YouTube. We're looking for it because we want to hear what you have to say. Want to hear what you feel like. I've seen several postings on Facebook by various people, and I'm not going to put them on the spotlight, but that they've said they're alumni of Binghamton University, that they have kids who are going to Binghamton University, and they are terrified for those kids. They are embarrassed by Binghamton University. Let me ask you, has President Harvey Stenger reached out to you guys?
No.
Has the university reached out to you guys?
No.
Have you heard from alumni of the school?
No.
Okay. So you may not be aware of all this, but I find it interesting that the school itself has no comment. Have you heard anything about the threat to try and close down the college Republicans?
Yes. I saw the college Democrats. I saw their statement.
Okay. What do you think about that? And let's put it in context. The college Democrats at Binghamton University, because 200 of their peers who have the same ideology of social justice have said, they felt so intimidated by 3 of you showing up to say you have a viewpoint that they believe you have to be shut down. I think one
Yep.
person said expelled from the university for expressing your viewpoint, even as a mob of 200 attacked you.
On the official College of Democrats statement, they said that the ramifications for this will be that we should be shut down. They said that they want the university to shut down the college Republicans and to stop Turning Point USA. These are the college Democrats. These are people that, they claim to be for the same things we're for America too. Oh, we want free speech too. That's free speech. That's free speech. We were mobbed by 200 people.
I love the tolerance here.
And it's the same exact talking points that the progressives were making. There's no difference between their statement and the progressive statement. It is, this was about gun violence, and therefore you need to be shut down. That's the statement. Wait, that's exactly what the progressives were saying.
And that's not what the video shows.
That's not what the video
unedited
shows.
video, the video clips across America, the videos that are being put out by Divest Binghamton, all the groups, everyone who's showing the video, in every instance, even when they are editing them, and I'm talking about Divest Binghamton editing, selectively editing the video for what they think will make more progressives feel good, even then, it is very explicit about this one-way intimidation. I got to ask you, and I know, and by the way, I was mentioning Lacey before. She was delayed both by classes and life, and so she may be joining us a little bit later. But I have to ask, how do you feel now? Do you feel safer?
I mean, being on campus, I don't really feel that safe. I know that there are people looking out for me. I know that people are pointing me out in the crowd. I know that people recognize my face. I've seen a Twitter post saying, let me read it exactly, actually.
Sure.
So there was a Twitter post that had a picture of me from the event, me with the cardboard cutout, me with the hat.
Who's it by?
Here, I'll show you that.
Really? That's the name?
That's the name.
Oh, really? I can't.
Yeah, no. I understand. Yeah.
I'm sorry, folks. I'm just looking at, there's a Twitter post, and the name of the person who's presenting a very crude statement and should be a violation of Twitter's decency, but their name is blatantly both graphically sexual in nature and also repugnant.
Yep.
Their Twitter name, the title of what they're using, it's literally repugnant and pornographic, and I can't have that on this program.
Understandably so, but I'll just read what they wrote. Right.
Yeah.
So it's the picture of me at the event, and it says, "This is a racist that goes to Binghamton University. Make him feel unsafe in public spaces."
So it's threats and intimidation.
Oh yeah, make him feel unsafe in public spaces. That is the objective. That's what they want.
Sounds like Maxine Waters.
Oh yeah, sounds.
Representative Maxine Waters calling on progressives to go out there and attack and intimidate conservatives and Republicans because they exist.
All because we exist and we have a voice too.
This is troubling in America, a nation where we're supposed to have conversations. That's why we have an internet. That's why we have social media, to be able to exchange ideas. Yeah. And this terrifies me.
Yeah.
Because this is horrible. I don't know what else to think of this. I don't understand how we can otherwise express this. This is bad for the nation. And I can imagine if students at Binghamton University are being promoted by the Democratic Party, and I say that because Conrad Taylor is a member of the Democratic Party. He is an elected official of the Democratic Party. So we have a party that is promoting intimidation, menacing, harassment of others in the community. What happens when they start doing that to citizens, residents walking up and down the street? What about what they're going to just identify? You're white. You must be a Trump supporter, so we're going to attack you. Is that the mentality that they're trying to express? Is this what is being taught? What teachers? Harvey Stanger, to you, I say, Is this what you want the university to be under your leadership? Is this the classes you're teaching? At least be honest enough to say, hey, this is menacing 101. This is harassment 101. This is vandalism 101. This is social justice terror tactics 101. At least give people a degree for what you're teaching them or allowing to be taught on your university, and supporting when you say, well, the mob and their destruction of property, they didn't just tear up, they stole and destroyed property on the university, and the university saying that's okay. Harvey Singer, that's your fault. That's your leadership in action, and I call you out. And I am more than happy to put you on this program live to explain to me how I'm misunderstanding that. And I doubt he will ever hear about it, but I am sure he will hear and see this video. I'm sure the rest of his administration will see this video. I know the other members of the news media. I know that the Democratic Party regularly watch my programs. I'm sure they're watching this right now. I know progressive leaders of tomorrow are watching this now. And I would love to hear the response on air, live, without edit, as I am right now, except they are not brave enough to do that.
Oh no, they're only brave when they have 200 people with them.
They're only brave when they're unknown, when
That's
they're
right.
in the crowd.
That's right.
But you know what, Conrad Taylor, I saw the video. I just showed people the video. Do you want to tell your constituents why you were there? Why you support that kind of attack against innocents? And I would love to hear from the Democratic Party of Broome County to explain why they believe this is okay, why it's okay for their elected official to go out to a protest and support intimidation, harassment, menacing, and vandalism. Please explain that to me as part of his official Twitter page, as part of his official conversation to the public. Because I don't believe the rest of City Council, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, Conservatives, and Democrats would support that. I would like to believe they won't. But I know that the members of Plot who were just elected, like Angela Davis and Aviva Friedman, that they seem to support this kind of idea. This is terrifying. This is point blank terrifying. So let me ask you.
Yep.
We know what the university has said about this. We know where the progressives stand. We know where members of city council stand. We know that the news media in general is avoiding this, and they don't want to talk about this. We know that you have an event tomorrow. Are you going to be intimidated? Will this stop you from moving forward?
The official stance of the Binghamton College Republicans is that this has not halted our movement at all. This is not going to stop us. This is not going to stop our progress. Actually, it's probably going to accelerate it.
Well, I would say, did you guys get any new members?
Oh, we got a lot of attention. We got a lot of new members. We got a lot of signups. We got a lot of support from people that we've never heard of before. And that is a very good thing. This has entirely backfired on the progressives, on the 200-person mob. They thought they got us. If you hear the video, what are you going to do? You're going to post this? You're going to put this online? Yes. Yes, we are. Because this has only had good outcomes for us after the event. That's all I've received. It's all positivity. Members of the community have been reaching out saying, I love what you guys are doing. Please keep pushing forward. And that makes it all worth it. Makes it all so worth it.
So have your teachers responded, or have they expressed themselves, or anyone officially at the university about this?
None of my teachers have done that. I don't know. Maybe some professors have spoken out. I'm assuming if they have spoken out, it's been negative, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard any professors say anything.
Well, I haven't seen anyone directly that I can tie to it, but I've heard many things on this so far.
Right.
Is there news media that you guys haven't talked to about this? I know several larger national
Yeah.
institutions have reached out to you guys, but has local media reached out to you at all?
Local media has not. However,
Besides me.
besides you, yeah, it's only been the larger ones that are trying to pick it up. YAF picked it up. Daily Wire picked it up. I believe Breitbart is doing something with it. A lot of these big organizations are picking this up, but
Mark
locally,
Levin and Ben Shapiro, have
yep.
commented on it.
Yes.
So there are large national figures who are paying attention to this.
Locally, not so much.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because you would expect, since this is a local event, you'd hear more. Although what I've seen in local reporting is they're talking about 3 incidents of graffiti at Syracuse University. This is a riot.
Yeah.
This is a mob.
Yeah. Which begs the question, why are they doing that?
And that's a very big question.
Yeah.
I'd ask the same question about why Facebook won't let me do this live, which I've done for dozens of times, but they won't let me go live anymore for the same reason. Well, it's because it's a conservative viewpoint and they don't want to have it out there.
Right, of course.
I assume that is the reasoning behind the major news media in the local community not touching this. Is there a message that either Turning Point USA or the college Republicans, from your understanding, would like to put out there to students who, because we saw a video from the very beginning of this mob being formed all the way through, that there were students who were just amazed. They were stunned. They were walking past. Mm-hmm. There are some of them who are conservatives, I'm sure, who are afraid to say something. There's many videos, there's different pieces of video that I've seen where a couple students just stopped and weren't chanting and were attacked because of that. What would you say to those students?
I would say this. Listen, there may have been 3 of us there, but the amount of people that support free speech, that support, whether you support the president or not, that support the right of people to table as we did, the number of those people is so much larger than the vicious mob that was attacking us that day. We were not in the minority. We may have been 3 people tabling, but a majority of the school, if it came down to it, stands with us, stands with the right to table, the right to voice your opinion, the right to advertise for an event, for an economic event, or if you want to look at the larger picture, fine, supporting the president. Most people agree that you should be allowed to support the president.
So let's take a moment to think about the consequences of this, because I think that's important. And I think there's a lot of consequences. I think, yes, it's a rally call to conservatives. It's a rally call to Republicans, even libertarians. For everyone who doesn't agree with the democratic, socialist, progressive ideology of gender identity politics, of forcing people to submit to a will simply because a very vocal minority say so. And that's really what we're looking at. If they have to send out tweets, as we have seen in evidence that they did, if they have to mobilize 200 people to silence 3 people, they are a fringe, terrified little group. Mm-hmm. That's my impression of it, is they have to be terrified. They have to be fanatically afraid that, oh my God, 3 people are speaking, someone may hear that, and we can't survive that.
Oh yeah, I will comment on that, but also my ride is here.
Okay.
But to wrap, like these people, they are truly afraid. This act of terror that they put on us is an act of desperation.
Okay, let's finish with this thought, because I know we've been at this for about an hour and a half, which is a lot. But I think it deserves it. It deserves to be that well covered. So let me ask first, you're obviously moving forward. You have the event tomorrow, which I'm going to try to get to. I do have to work because I do a job as well. But it's going to be Dr.
Arthur
Laffer, who's going to be at Binghamton University speaking about economics. Where's it going to be at?
It's going to be in Academic A, room G008. It is in the basement of the Academic A building, room 8.
Okay.
Yep.
And that starts at 7?
7:30.
7:30.
Yes.
Okay. So people can know about that. If people want to learn more about Turning Point USA's Binghamton chapter and or the Binghamton College Republicans, how can they do so?
Well, we have multiple outlets on social media. We have a Facebook page. I believe we have a Instagram. I'm not certain on that, but you can reach out to us on Facebook. You could find us. You could find us on campus. I mean, our faces are pretty known at this point, but mostly our main outlet is Facebook. We reach out to us on Facebook. That is the easiest way to find us.
Okay. And we're going to make sure people know about that. Separate of that, is there any final message that you have? And of course, Lacey is more than welcome to come on to the program when she gets a chance. I know school and work do take up a lot of time. John Rastusha, who's your president, he's welcome to come on. And I am looking forward, folks. Remember, the phone number is 607-242-1582. That is on 24 hours a day. You can leave text there. You can leave phone calls there. And we'll get to them as much as we can and respond to them. But is there any final thoughts that you have?
Any final thoughts? I'll say this. It's this act of desperation on the part of the progressives did not work. It totally backfired on them. The amount of support we've gotten because of it is tremendous, and we thank everyone for reaching out. We thank everyone for supporting us. We thank the UPD, especially, for protecting us in that situation. And ultimately, we're going to keep fighting. We are going to keep pushing forward. Nothing at this point is going to stop us. After that, we're really not scared of what they can put for us. We are absolutely confident in our ability to make a change in this community.
All right. Well, folks, I thank you for that, John. I thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me on.
And please, folks, spread this around. Don't rely on just Breitbart. Don't rely on just Daily Wire or Ben Shapiro. The big names out there, I love that they're supporting this. I hope that they push this forward. I hope they mention this video as well as their own reporting. But what's more important, your voice. You speak up, share this, comment, let other people know. And hopefully by doing that, we can stop these kind of terror tactics and prevent this from happening again. This now being the second time we've seen progressives actively going out and trying to silence people. Because if we don't, the next time, it'll be you. So, folks, I thank you. This is Michael Voss. This has been Conservatives Standing Tall, the first show being presented on No Soundbites Allowed. I am the Dragon of the Southern Tier, and I look forward to seeing all of your comments on this, and I hope everyone has a great day.